So in this video, we'll be covering the introduction of DC versus AC. So in DC, we know there is a direct current and it only flows in one direction. There is a criteria. In alternating currents, the direction will change periodically with time. So it means that the direction will change, right? If it's moving from left to right, at a time later, it will be moving from right to left. So quiz, right? Is this a AC or a DC? Right? If you thought about it, this is actually a DC current because the current always flows in one direction. Although it has a sinusoidal shape, it only flows in the positive direction. So we call this a DC that is varying. Right? It's not a constant DC, it's a DC that is varying. Right? A lot of students confuse this as an AC. Right? So these are the examples of some DC. And these are some examples of AC. Right? The most common that we'll talk about is the one that's sinusoidal. And here, let me talk a little bit about the word sinusoidal because students look at this and say, okay, if this is a sine curve, it's a sinusoidal. So if it's a cosine curve, then it's not sinusoidal. That's not correct. All sine, cosine curves and anything in between that has this shape, right, even if you transpose it to the left or to the right by a little bit, are called sinusoidal ACs. Right? So this is what sinusoidal means. So that's the most popular type of AC current. The second most popular would be the square waves or the rectangular waveforms. Right? So we will be talking about this in 4 part 2. Sorry, 4 part 2, yes. And then we'll talk about the sinusoidal one in 4 part 3. There's also, of course, a triangular one. The sawtooth waveform or triangular waveform. This one is a little bit harder to ask mathematical questions on, which is why we don't see them very often in the A levels. Okay. So here we take a look at how ACs behave. Right. Here we have a source, right? That is plus and minus integer. You notice that the terminals will change directions, and as they change, the direction of current changes, right? One thing that you need to note is that the V and the I's are in phase, meaning when V is maximum, I is maximum. When V is 0, I is 0. And when V is negative maximum, I is negative maximum, right? So this is how an AC behaves. And with that, I come to the end of part 1, the introduction.